All right, welcome back to night 13, round one, as the coverage continues from here, live to tape from Chaos Corner. We are in the Serene Circle at this time with David, Richard, and Miranda, and Avi brings in Sally Kirkland again. Fans, this is what you get, and this is what you get on the Serene Circle, in the Winner's Circle, in the Serene Room, whatever you want to call it, all meshed together. You get stars from TV, film, sports, music, entertainment, theater, pro wrestling. It doesn't get any better than that. This is what's happening on the Green Room. Let's get into the Serene Circle. Again, the video montages, I told you about it. It's unbelievable. Sally Kirkland. Listen, I don't have to run down her resume. Google it. We know that she knows how to do things. She's been in over 250 films and movies. She's won multiple awards. I don't have to continue to do it. She's taught over 2,000 actors and actresses. Think about the legend of Sally Kirkland and what this woman has given back to Hollywood for her life. And she's now an ordained minister. I can't express it enough. And the opportunity for David, Rich, and Miranda on the Serene Circle. So let's move on to the conversation. Avi's gonna let each one of the competitors, Dave, Miranda, and Rich, interview Sally. Talk about the opportunity of a lifetime that you would never get anywhere else. So we start off with the first person, and it's Rich Masadi who gets the first shot at Sally Kirkland. And Rich comes on. He's very, very cordial. Sally had mentioned earlier that she was having a few internet problems, but they thankfully rectified. And she was also feeling maybe a little nauseous, not feeling well. And boy, Rich Masadi, the silver-tongued devil, as I said, he comes in and gives a little advice to Miss Sally Kirkland, the award-winning actress. And Rich says, I would suggest maybe some ginger chews or some ginger oils and teas and, a flotation therapy center where Rich used to work at. And Sally just immediately lights up and buzzes. And it's like Rich hit the on switch with Sally Kirkland, who became very vivacious and very vibrant, full of light and positivity with Rich Masadi. They seem to have a natural chemistry. They talk about faith and spirituality, and Sally's very, very open and honest and revealing, and she certainly tells it like it is. And, she's well-researched in her career, and I'll say this. She talks about yoga. She talks about being an ordained minister. She talks about all the different folks and people that she's helped and given back over the years. She even mentions not only as herself what she found important to research herself and the people she's worked with and she's helped. She actually said that Rich Masadi seemed to be very well researched in this interview himself. Talk about a compliment. Unbelievable. I talk about the compliment that Avi got from Mr. Barry Bostwick. This right here, I can go to sleep at night, huh, Rich Masadi? So she ends up talking about Miss Sally, dear Sally Kirkland, talks about her good friend and the questions that Rich is asking. Rich is asking about who would you want to work with again? Who has been your biggest influence? He really checks all the boxes in the questions. How is it to live in the present moment? Avi asked that question, and Rich continues on with it. So as I go through my notes here of the Serene Circle and with Sally Kirkland, it really was something, and a levity moment, something that was kind of funny, and you'll be ribbed and remembered forever, but it's connected to Miss Sally Kirkland, who's just perhaps the most lovely woman in Hollywood today. And she calls Rich Masadi, she calls him Nick. It's a beautiful thing, a slip of the tongue. She calls Rich Nick, and it was really something. And I'll say that was perhaps one of the best interviews that I've seen. I'm not going to say a conversation because Rich was there with an opportunity to show off his interview skills, and he did it. He hit the ball out of the park. He hit it over the Green Monster. He hit it out of the Yankee Stadium. He hit it out of Chavez Ravine in L.A. Wherever he was, Yankee Stadium, it doesn't matter. Rich Masadi engaged Sally Kirkland. She seemed like she was having the time of her life. She was open. She was honest, and Rich Masadi brought that out of her, and that was very, very well done. Sally even says that previous to this, she said that Avi should be her publicist, and she even talks about in the segment Keith Carrington, her good friend, and Rich even gets I'm bouncing all over here because the conversation was intertwined amongst everybody from Avi to David to Rich to Miranda to Sally. So I want to make sure that I get everything in here and relate it to you. Sally's been around doing this since 1961, I believe. I know somebody had said 67 or 69, but I believe it's 61. Somebody correct me on that. Avi, you'll correct me. And she talks about film and TV and gives another big compliment to Avi and how I'll agree he should be an agent or a publicist because he does his due diligence, as did Rich Masadi in this segment. And she talks about go out, fans, and check out Unconditionally. That's right, Unconditionally, the music by Keith Carrington. The country star Keith Carrington is very close with Sally Kirkland, and if she gives you the rub, then that means that you have talent and that you're a person, a salt of the earth, so to speak, because that's who she associates herself with. In next on this, I just feel like I have to hold it because the segment was unbelievable between what the three hosts did. I'll give it to Rich, Miranda, and David. So we move on. Well done, Rich. I got a little too crazy there giving you compliments. Don't let it go to your head, Masadi, Monicati, Rich, Nick, whatever your name is. Don't let it go to your head, okay? Remember that. So we go into Miranda, who really herself is glowing and excited. And when she comes on, Miranda, you could feel the energy. For someone who's a licensed therapist and calms people, allegedly, makes them serene. Allegedly, we know what she did to Ken Patera last week. We know what she's done to Pete from Sharpie with the $2,500. So, but I'll give her credit. Very professional, looking as lovely as ever. And she comes on and she gets Sally to talk about certain things and connects in a way that maybe a female interviewer would with a female star. So there's a lot to be said for that. And so she gets to the crux, Miranda. I'll give her credit. And Sally opens up and talks about everything that you can imagine that I guess is gal talk, women talk. Like guys have locker room talk. Well, the gals have their hot sauna talk too, I guess, right? I mean, can you verify this with me, somebody? Miranda, anybody? Verify it? Whoever's watching? Mindy? Sammy? Can you verify that with me? Well, I'm not going to ask Preston present. So Sally Kirkland is on with Miranda again. You could see the excitement in Miranda, and Sally's talking about Barbara Streisand, Paul Newman, and Robert Redford from being in with the Sting, Kevin Costner, Jim Carrey, all the different folks that she's performed with and been with, and we know there's hundreds, there's thousands with Sally Kirkland, but to be able to have a conversation about such Hollywood legends, and you could see Miranda was riveted, and they had a connection. They had that gal connection. Again, when you're talking about Barbara Streisand, and you're talking about Newman and Redford and former lovers and Bobby De Niro and stuff like that, and Sally starts talking about Sallywood that's going to come out this fall. Like they have Dollywood and they have Hollywood and they have all this different stuff. Disneyland. They're going to have Sallywood this fall. Sally Kirkland. So she reveals a lot of stuff, and Miranda asks, who would she like to work with? And she comes up, she calls him Bobby, Robert De Niro, and I guess they have a pass, a little bit in the boudoir, so to speak, the amour. I don't want to spread rumors, speculation, innuendo. That's what the paparazzi is for, a TMZ and all that. I'm not here for that Buzz News, BuzzFeed. I'm here to give you Chaos Corner. So I found the gal talk to be really something, and Miranda did a good job. She really did, and Sally talks about her former lovers, and she's very open and honest, and she throws out some heavy hitters and some names that she's had a little rendezvous with, so to speak. I won't keep it a little edgy. I don't want to say anything a little crazy. I love Sally Kirkland. Miranda, kudos. Good job. I felt the excitement. I felt the gal talk. It was nice to be a fly on the wall in the gal's locker room, so to speak. So Avi comes in, and he has a little tete-a-tete, so to say, with Sally Kirkland, who is very good friends with actress Jennifer Tilly. I don't have to tell you about Jennifer Tilly, award-winning actress, beautiful lady. And Avi actually is making a little speculation, innuendo, and rumor, as I like to say, about maybe Sally Kirkland could hook him up with a date with Jennifer Tilly? I don't know, Avi. You think you're in Jen's class? Do you think Jennifer Tilly, I guess they starred together with Jim Carrey in the movie. Do you think Jen would date you, Avi? Oh, I don't know. I don't know, Jennifer Tilly. I'm not in Hollywood. I'm in Chaos Corner. I'm in the bunker. I'm in the bowels of the earth. How would I know if you can, he's trying to get the digits and hit her up, and he actually is trying to smooth Sally for a little hookup with Jennifer Tilly. So that's another story for another time. Let's move on to the Serene Circle. Night 13, round 1. We have Mr. Main Event, who needs nobody. Mr. Candy Corn, get your soda pop and your popcorn. And yeah, Avi's right-hand man, perhaps the favorite to win this tournament, David Holliday. Although things haven't been going for him that well lately. As maybe he's poolside. But we move on. And here comes David Holliday to interview Sally Kirkland. Again, David, since he's been on the green room, and he's been on screen with the best of the stars in film and TV and movies and sports that have been on the green room. Legends, icons. David Holliday has definitely got the rub, and I guess it's well-deserved for all the work that he puts in and the talent that he has. So David gets on, and he's in a serious tone. I like to see David this way. No chicanery, no shtick, no like people say about me. I like to see the talented David Holliday, because this guy is second to none. And I mean that, Holliday. But don't let that go to your head either. Okay, you son of a bitch. Don't let that go to your head. I voted for you before. Remember that. So David gets on to a conversation with Miss Sally Kirkland, and they take a spiritual path. And David's, a man of recovery himself, a man who's been on his ups and downs, and a man who is a survivor. I'll give you credit for that, Holliday. So David talks about spirituality and the path with Sally, and he asks about different things and being a competitor at auditions, and how did it make you feel, and Sally Kirkland from back then in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s and up to this day, and she's still working. What does it feel like when in all those times and on all those auditions with those hundreds of girls? Because Sally tells a story with she had to beat out 300 different other female competitors, 299 to get the job. And David gets her to reveal, for as sweet and spiritual as she is, deep down inside, she's a tigress. She's a competitor. Like what the green room does to everyone, it brings out the competition. And why do you think Sally Kirkland is such a legend, such an icon, so many award-winning things, and so many things that she's been around and taught over 2,000 actors and actresses? Why? Because she's a competitor in her heart, like we all are. And David Holliday gets to bring that out of Sally Kirkland. If that's not impressive and have good interview skills, I don't know what is. So I'll give you credit on that one, Holliday. They talk about things that being in the movie industry, filmmakers versus distributors, and the war and the fight that you have in that industry, in the entertainment industry, between making the film and getting it distributed, and the battles that go back and forth between those groups of people that are behind the scenes that a lot of you, the fans, don't know about, that I'm learning about now. I mean, so David has the ins and outs being a performer of stage and theater, so I'll give Holliday credit, and he's tapping into the legend and the icon Sally Kirkland to bring out her knowledge and experience. And again, Sally pulls no punches. She's raw. She's edgy. She's unique. She tells it like it is. She's spiritual. There's nobody better than Sally Kirkland. They talk about Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese, and the story that I alluded to, where she had to battle in the king of comedy against 300 other females, like they had the male kings of comedy, Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, so on and so forth, D.L. Hughley. I know I'm missing somebody. I get it. But she went down to the finals against Miss Sandra Bernhardt, one of the best comics, stand-up comics, female comics, whatever comic, any comic. Sandra Bernhardt is one talented lady. But, of course, Sally Kirkland kicked her ass, and she won out the job. She got the job. She talks about how she used to date Robert De Niro. De Niro keeps coming up in this, so it's nice to be able to talk about, and I'm just saying it, I don't know him. I never met him. I hope to one day. I don't care about his political views. They call him Bobby, not me. It's Robert De Niro. I'm a fan. What do you want me to tell you? So she's talking about how the story between Martin Scorsese and De Niro, and how Martin wanted her to be in the movie. She wanted to be in it with De Niro, but Martin was a little nervous about them working together because of the relationships and females and males and partners and so on and so forth. And so it's nice to get that inside story of icons and legends that we only used to watch on the big screen and that you read of false bravado in all these entertainment stories. I mean, it's all BS. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. So to hear her talk about that and to hear her talk about vulnerability, because David Holliday asked the question about vulnerability and to get the vulnerability out, and it always seems to come back that that's the common denominator in acting is vulnerability, peeling back the layers, showing your versatility. That's what David Holliday does, and he's able to express that and bring that out in Sally Kirkland, that if she doesn't want to talk to you, she won't. If she feels a connection with you and likes you, she'll talk forever and reveal the most inside things that you've ever heard. That's a best-selling novel. So I'll give Holliday for credit for that. And Holliday talks about different things. How did you navigate the darkness in acting? You know, the drugs, the sex, all the different things that come along with it, the infidelity. And Sally's very honest, and this is where she talks about her past and lovers, and she doesn't care. This is a tell-all conversation with David Holliday. She talks about her nervous breakdown and nearly committing suicide, and it's just like, wow. She talks about Jackie Kennedy and her performance of Jackie Kennedy and the things that they talk about and go back and forth on this interview. I mean, it's just history. It's priceless. It's timeless. And God bless Sally Kirkland for opening up, and whether it was Rich, Miranda, and now David, to be able to bring this out, because again, Sally Kirkland is legendary, known in Hollywood for sometimes being a tough interview. So this segment was award-winning. They pulled it off. The Serene Circle, what David did, and Miranda and Rich, it really was incredible. The interview itself was incredible. You couldn't get a better guest than Sally Kirkland. Avi, you did it again. And castmates, David, Rich, Miranda, you guys really, again, I'm here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, because you're not competing against me right now. We're not in the Dark Castle. We're in Chaos Corner. So with that being said, we're going to bounce out of the Serene Circle with Sally Kirkland. It was amazing. And then we're going to get into what happened on night 13 between myself and Pinocchio Joe. And you see the tone changes. So stay tuned. What an excellent, excellent episode of the Serene Circle and Sally Kirkland. Rich, David, and Miranda. We're leaving the Serene Circle and we're going into the Dark Castle. Don't you dare miss it. Chaos Corner, live to tape.